Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's share the screen and go. This is three. Okay, so whenever you're ready.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 25. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmadevam vidivenam nanusochetumarhasi.
Hare Krishna, it is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body.
Text 26. Atajenam nityajatam nityam va manyase mritam tatapi tvam mahabaho nenam sochitumarhasi.
If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty armed.
Text 27. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janmamritasya cha tasmad apariharyerite natvam shochitumarhasi.
One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament.
Text 28. Avyakta bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyakta nidhananyeva tatra ka paridevana.
All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So, what need is there for lamentation?
Text 29. Ascharyavat pashyati kachidenam Ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyaham Ascharyavatchenam anya shrinoti Shrutva pienam vedana cheva kaschit.
Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all.
Text 30. Dehi nityam avadyoyam Dehi sarvasya bharata Tasmat sarvani bhutani Natvam shochitumarhasi.
O descendant of Bharat, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being.
Text 31. Swadharmam apicha vikshya navikam pitumarhasi dharmyati yudat shreyonyat kshatriyasya na vidyate.
Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation.
Text 32. Yadrachaya chopanam chopapanam svargadvaram apravritam sukhina kshatriya partha labante yudamidrisam.
O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets.
Text 33. Ata chetvam imam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tata swadharmam krittim cha hitva papam avapsyasi.
If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter.
Text 34. Akritim chapi bhutani kata yasyanti te vyayam sambat vitasya chakritir maranat atirichakte.
People will always speak of your infamy, and for a responsible person, dishonor is worse than death.
Text 35. Bayadranad oparatam mamsyante tvam maharataha yesham chatvam bahumato bhutvayasya silaghavam.
The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant.
Text 36. Avachya vadamscha bahun vadishyanti tavahitaha Nindantastava samartyam tato dukkataram nukim.
Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you?
Text 37. Hatoba prapasyasi swargam jitva va boksyase mahim tasmad uttista konteya yudaya krita nischayaha.
O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight.
Text 38. Sukha dunke same kritva laba labau jaya jayo tato yudaya yud yasva nevam papam avapsyasi.
Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin.
Text 39. Eshate vihita sankye buddhir yoge dvimam shunu buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi.
Thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Prutha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works.
Text 40. Neha vikramana shosti ratyavayo na vidyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato vyayat.
In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear.
Text 41. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahusaka hyanantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam.
Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched.
Text 42 and 43. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadanti avipaschitaha vedavadarata partha nanyad astati vadinaha kamatmana svarga para Janma karma phala pradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogeshvarya gatim prati.
Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this.
Text 44. Bhogeshvarya prasaktanam taya parta chetasam vyavasakya mika buddhihi samadauna vidiyate.
In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place.
Text 45. Tre gunya vishaya veda nistre gunyo bavarjuna nirdvanvo nityasattvasto niryogashima atmavan.
The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjun, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gaining safety, and be established in the self.
Text 46. Yavanartha udapane sarvata sampludo todake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanataha.
All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to those who knows the purpose behind them.
Text 47. Karmani evadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbur ma desango stu karmani.
You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty.
Text 48. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyatva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate.
Perform your duty equipoised, O Arjun, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna,
Please
wonderful.
forgive me for my mistakes.
No, you're very good. Thank you, Mataji. Excellent. Your pronunciation was quite good. You were making such a nice effort to make sure that you're pronouncing the words properly. So very nice. Thank you. And Puja Mataji, wonderful, nicely related to English. We were all in the battlefield with you, listening to your translations. Thank you so much. Let me just stop sharing this and then we can go on to the presentation. Okay. Just rearrange a few things and then we can go. Okay. Right, so we are on to the almost the third of the second chapter we've done. Continuing reading from this wonderful section of the second chapter. We'll do the chapter summary first. So text 1 to 10. Arjun continued to discuss, to tell Krishna all about his doubts. And then, of course, around the seventh chapter, seventh text, he surrenders unto Lord Krishna. And then Krishna starts to speak the Gita around, I think, around text 11. And then first, this is the Jnana section. So from 11 to 30, which is today's verse, 30, Krishna is giving Arjun Jnana about the soul and the body. And with that Jnana, that becomes the cornerstone of the philosophy. And Krishna will build on that and then gradually bring Krishna to Arjun to highest level of spirituality. We will recite today's verse. Before that, we just do the invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 30. Dehi nityam avadyoyam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani na tvam shochitum arhasi. O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being. Before we go on to the purport, there's just a couple of things in the verse. So, avadyo, vad, we know that word even from Hindi, isn't it? We say vad, it's not vad ho gaya. So that means some harm. Avad means that nothing can harm, referring to the soul. Dehi, not a deha. Deha is the body that can be harmed and that can be destroyed. But Dehi, the owner of the body, he cannot. So, nityam avadyoyam, so forever, that soul is untouchable. We've seen so many verses explaining all that. The last line is interesting. Natvam shochitum arhasi. It's not worth lamenting. And this shochitum arhasi, in different ways it comes through the last few verses. In text 25, it says nanu shochitam arhasi. And then in 26, it says nainam shochitam arhasi. And then now he's saying natvam shochitam arhasi. So he's repeating the same message about lamentation in three different ways. We go on to the purport now. Purport, Pasha Prabhupada ki jai. Let's see who can read. We got Dilip. Dilip Prabhu, are you able to unmute and read the purport for us, please? Okay, Dilip Prabhu is not able to unmute, so let's now go to Hari Mohan Sharma Prabhu. Are you able to unmute and read the purport, please? Oh, second one not. Let's see, third time lucky. Urmila Ben, I just saw you come on camera. So are you able to read the purport, please, Urmila Ben? Okay. Nobody works third time, but this time it didn't work. Okay, Hari
Hare
Mohan,
Krishna.
are you able to read? Prabhu, can you hear me? Hari Mohan Prabhu? Looks like you're on a phone, so maybe it'll be too small for you to read.
Okay, Mukesh bhai, I'll try.
Okay. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'll try, okay.
Go ahead, please, Urmilaben.
Yeah. Hare Krishna to all. So Lord now concludes the chapter of instruction on the immutable spirit soul in describing the immortal soul in various ways. Lord Krishna establishes that the soul is immortal and the body is temporary. Therefore, Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, should not abandon his duty out of fear that his grandfather and teacher Pushpa and Drona will die in the battle. On the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from the material body, not that there is no such thing as a soul, or that living symptoms develop at a certain stage of material maturity resulting from the interaction of chemicals. Though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged, but at the time of war, it is not discouraged when there is actual need for it. The need must be justified in terms of the sanction of the Lord and not capriciously. Thank you, Mukesh bhai.
Thank you, Urmilaben. Very nicely read. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Papitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashakya Veshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So nice short purport. So often as Krishna does, Krishna will speak a particular theme, and then he will give just like a one verse summary of that, or actually the conclusion. So this particular verse is a conclusion of what Krishna has been speaking from around verse 11 or 12 to 29. 30 is like a summary. Any good writer would be like this. He would speak a particular thing and then he would summarize it before moving on to the next stage. So the conclusion of this jnana section to Arjuna is just re-emphasizing that factually the soul is indestructible, and the body is not to be lamented for. That's the meaning of this verse. Let's dig a little bit deeper into the purport. So Prabhupada writes, the Lord now concludes a chapter of instructions on the immutable spirit soul. In describing the immortal soul in various ways, Lord Krishna establishes that the soul is immortal and the body is temporary. So he's basically, Krishna is sort of using this first, initially using the jnana section to empower Arjuna, to convince him to fight. As we know, just before this section started, Arjuna decided, I'm not going to fight Krishna. He's put his bow down. Actually, no, he didn't put it down. It actually slipped out of his hand because his hand was so sweaty because he was so morose. And he actually, at this stage, he says not going to fight. So Krishna is now going to, by giving him Gyan, he's trying to convince him to fight. And now he's going to gradually, through the Bhagavad Gita, take him, from Jnana to Karma, Kanda, Karma Yoga, Nishkam Karma Yoga, bringing him to the pure devotional service stage. So 4 truths are established by this verse and the purport. First of all, the identity of a living entity. The living entity is an immutable spirit soul, as it says in this verse. Then the soul versus the body. The soul is immortal and body is temporary. The immortality does not encourage whimsical violence. So people may think that, yes, okay, the soul lives forever. In fact, one of my friends who I was trying to preach to, and when I mentioned about this, he actually said to me that, okay, in that case, the fact that we are eating meat doesn't really matter because that soul is not dead. But you see, this is not allowed. That, certain things will have to be done with some intelligence. Just the fact that that soul is immortal doesn't mean that you torture that soul for the taste of your tongue. So these things, sometimes people take these kind of instructions to suit their purpose. But we need to obviously listen to the message as Krishna gives it to Arjuna and not make it up for our own convenience. And the fourth one is, okay, if there's violence, it's got to be justified, as we were saying just now. It's not justified at all to kill another living entity for the taste of your tongue. Absolutely not. So there will be situations where just the violence can be justified, and that will be covered. Violence must be justified in terms of sanctions of the Lord, and not capriciously meaning carelessly, just for your own benefit. So the message for Arjuna here is that as a Kshatriya, he should not abandon out of fear that his grandfather and teacher will die in battle. So a Kshatriya must put everything aside and do his duty first. This is the message that Krishna is trying to give Arjuna. So he continues the purport. Therefore, Arjuna as a Kshatriya should not abandon his duty out of fear that his grandfather and teacher, Bhishma and Drona, will die in the battle. So this is what I just mentioned earlier. And there is a verse in the 18th chapter where this kind of abandoning our duty is mentioned as it is, I think, is confirmed to be in a mode of passion. So it says, Dukham ityeva yat karma, kaya klesha bhayat tyajet, na kritva rajasam tyagam, naiva tyagam phalam labhet. Krishna says, anyone who gives up prescribed duties as troublesome or out of fear of bodily discomfort is said to have renounced in the mode of passion. Such action never leads to the elevation of renunciation. So see, this is the situation right now Arjuna is in. Arjuna is wanting to not fight because it is troublesome for him. It's troublesome for him in the sense that he is thinking very much on the bodily platform, isn't he? He's thinking about the fact that, people who are connected to my body, my grandfather, my teacher, my cousins, my friends, these are all bodily conceptions. So he's thinking that, because of that, and if they die, of course, I will not feel good. So he's looking at his own selfish interests here. So this is certainly not recommended, and Krishna will soon bring him out of that mentality. And there's another verse which is relating to this kind of discussion, is that one must stick to his own occupation. And Arjuna is trying to run away from his occupation for all the reasons he gave. And despite the fact that all the reasons, they sound so plausible, the overriding reason that he should fight reasons, really, not just one. Number one, he's a Kshatriya, it's his duty. And number two, it is Krishna's will. Krishna is asking him to do. So there's two strong reasons why he doesn't need to give up his occupation. And that verse talking about you must stick to your own occupation is in 1847, where it says, Shreyan swa dharmo viguna, para dharmat swa anushtitat, swabhava niyatam karma, kurvan napnoti kilbisham. He says, it's better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reaction. So Arjuna wanted to give up his Kshatriya duties and take up the duty of a Brahmana. He says, I'd rather go and live in the forest and beg. That is a duty of a renounced Brahmana, not a duty of a Kshatriya. In the purport, Prabhupada says, one should work according to his own nature. No work is abominable. If performed in the service of the Supreme Lord, the occupational duty of a Brahmana is certainly in the mode of goodness. But if a person is not by nature in the mode of goodness, he should not imitate the occupation duty of a Brahmana. See here, Arjuna is definitely not in the mode of in the mood of a Brahmana. He's a Kshatriya. He is passionate. A Brahmana is peaceful. A Kshatriya is opposite. A Kshatriya can never be peaceful. He's not supposed to be peaceful. If he's a peaceful Kshatriya, he will not be able to protect the citizens. So, yeah, but if a person is not by nature in the mode of goodness, he should not imitate the occupation duty of a Brahmana. For a Kshatriya or an administrator, there are so many abominable things. A Kshatriya has to be violent to kill his enemies. And sometimes a Kshatriya has to tell lies for the sake of diplomacy. Such violence and duplicity accompany political affairs. But a Kshatriya is not supposed to give up his occupational duty and try to perform the duty of a Brahmana. So you see, so these things are allowed. For a Kshatriya, in diplomacy, he has to tell a couple of white lies. And these things actually are allowed according to Shastra, because a Kshatriya has to use certain tactics in his dealing with people. Similarly, a businessman, for example, a Vaishya, a businessman is also allowed to tell a white lie. A businessman will be, I was running a business until I retired in 2018. So many times when my customer would start negotiating with me, oftentimes I would say actually, but quite frankly, I would say to him, I'm not making any profit here. I'm just making, barely 5-10%. Please, don't push me down on the price. But, in reality, maybe I was making 20-25%, but I had to give that white lie to him so he would get off my back, right, and accept my price. So these are white lies, and these are not sinful. So you see, if you are committing these little so-called sinful things within your own duty, within your own occupational duties, those Krishna forgives, right? So Krishna will forgive a certain white lie. Of course, Krishna would not forgive a businessman completely out and out cheating somebody. That is not allowed. But this kind of negotiation, a little bit of lie here, there, that is allowed for a Vaishya and for a Kshatriya also. This kind of lie. The Kshatriya, of course, is allowed to kill. When he kills on the battlefield, he is not incurring any sins for that, because he is killing under the order of a superior, if he's a soldier, or if he's a commander, then he is killing because he has a right to defend his army and his citizens. We'll look at different sort of situations that even a Kshatriya has to look at before he starts to kill people. Then continuing on the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, on the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from the material body. Not that there is not that there is no such thing as a soul, or that the living symptoms develop at a certain stage of material maturity resulting from the reactions of chemicals. So see, the atheists believe this because they don't want to admit to a superior power. The atheists will say that, first of all, there is nothing as a soul. This whole, life comes about, they say life comes from matter. So from a certain situation of reactions of chemicals, life comes about. And then the body is made of matter anyway. So this is their sort of complete misunderstanding. But one has to accept these facts because we don't know. Nobody, even us, we are devotees, we are completely convinced. But who has actually, somebody will say, but have you ever seen a soul? How do you know? How are you so convinced? So this is the things. We need to take the word of Krishna. We need to take the word of Shastra. So there are certain ways that we have to accept some truths. There are many spiritual concepts that are inconceivable. If you're trying to use our limited intelligence, many things don't make sense. So idea is that when you come to the spiritual path, we must not try to speculate too much. We have to accept that certain things are not within my grasp because I am a tiny little soul with a tiny little brain, and I cannot understand these things. But I have to accept these concepts from higher authorities. This is a must. Otherwise, one cannot make progress in spiritual life. We will keep going round and round in circles without moving forward because we get stuck on certain things. If you just accept certain things on paper because somebody senior is saying, in this case, Krishna is saying, then we have a chance of moving forward. And eventually, devotees, you will know from your own experience. In the beginning, many times you would have got stuck on something and thought, my God, this doesn't make sense to me. But okay, let me let it go now. See what happens. Eventually, you will find that particular thing that was bothering you will be clarified in some lecture that you hear or some discussion you have. It will be clarified. So generally, the knowledge is accepted under three types of evidence. Anybody know what evidences are? Three types of evidence. They're called pramanas.
Is it called pratyaksha? Something yes. Second one and third one is shabda?
Yes, that's absolutely.
Pratyaksha praman. Is it
yes.
praman?
Yes, perfect, Rupa Mataji. Exactly. Pratyaksha praman, that means, okay, what does that mean? Rupa Mataji, Puja Mataji, anyone?
Pratyaksha is sort of like some sort of assumption that something is there.
Assumption is, I think, the second one.
Second one.
Pratyaksha means
what is in front of you.
Mental speculation.
Yes, perfect. Pratyaksha means direct perception. Something you see. Oh, sorry, Falguni Mataji, you're saying something? Okay. No problem.
Sorry, Prabhuji. I think I had unmuted. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. No, thank you, Falguni Mataji. Okay, so pratyaksha means direct perception. That's one way that we perceive. I'm looking at this thing, and I know it's a phone. So that way I've taken that knowledge. Then anuman is what
Anuman is assumption.
Assumption, exactly. Hypothesis, as they say. So assumption. So the point we are trying to make it that all these things can be faulty. Pratyaksha can be faulty. Sometimes we see, sometimes there's an illusion, isn't it? Sometimes we're seeing something from a distance and it looks quite different. And then when we come close, we realize, oh no, it was this thing. So even the perception can mislead us. Anuman can definitely mislead us. Because here we're making hypotheses based on certain facts in front of us. Now, something that I must have shared with some of you, because I've shared this with many people in many classes, my own personal experience of this Anuman Praman going wrong, so if you heard it again, I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat it again. In 2013, I was in hospital for a serious operation, and preparing me for the operation, they were taking me to various departments, X-ray and scans and all that. And my wife, in those days, of course, there was not COVID or whatever, so my wife was along with me all the time. So one time they took me for an X-ray, and then after the X-ray, I'm supposed to be, they put me on that trolley and I'm supposed to be taken back to the ward. And there was some shortage of porters. So this nurse kept making phone calls, asking people to come to take me back to the ward, but it was not happening quite a long time. So she comes over to us. My wife was standing by me. I was lying down on this trolley. And she says to my wife, don't worry, we will make sure your dad gets back to his ward soon. So those of you who know my wife, she is blessed with young looks. So here's Hanuman. She's looking at one person who's looking elderly, lying on this couch, and she's looking at another person, a younger person, who she's assumed that she is a lot younger, and she's called her my daughter. So this is how badly things can go wrong when you do Hanuman. And then Shabda. So first two definitely wrong. Shabda is where you cannot go wrong. And what is Shabda?
I think it's words of the Shastras.
Yes. Okay. Superior authority. So authorities can be Krishna or Shastras. So here Arjuna is taking the Shabda Praman directly from Krishna. So examples of Shabda Praman, for example, something like I was saying, something would not make sense logically, and yet it makes sense in terms of the Shastra, and we have to accept it. So a conch shell. So it is said that, for example, if you happen to, obviously we are devotees and we never go anywhere near sort of non-veg stuff, but if you happen to just by accident touch the bone of an animal, Shastra says that you need to go immediately and take a bath. No two ways about it. But conch shell is nothing but a bone of an animal. And what do we do with the conch shell? Not only do we put the conch shell to our mouth, but we actually take it into the deity room, right in front of the deities. But Shastra says that a conch shell is auspicious, so we don't try and make any logic out of it. We accept it, right? The other thing is cow dung and cow urine, right? Again, it is said that if we, by accident, we touch the stool of an animal or urine of an animal, we are meant to have a shower straight away. But Shastra says that cow dung and cow urine should be used in ritualistic ceremonies. So this is also Shastra. So again, here's something you can't really explain it, but you have to accept it. That is the fact. In the 10th chapter, Arjuna teaches us actually how to accept Shabda Praman. After hearing the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, Chatushloki Gita, Arjuna speaks this text 12 and 13. Anybody know this verse? Two verses together. Beautiful verses. Somebody was saying something? Ajay Mukunda-Hari, yes?
Oh, it's no, it's gone.
He's gone. Okay, don't worry, Ajay Mukunda-Hari. Arjuna Vacha
Oh, yes.
Param Brahma Param Dhamma Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum Ahustvam Rishaya Sarve Devarshi Naradatha Ashito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bhavishime. Arjuna said, you are the supreme personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirmed this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me. So see, so he accepts Krishna, first of all, as the ultimate authority by saying these two verses. And then he says in text 14, anybody know 14? Sarvam etadritam manye yanmam vadasi keshava nahi te bhagavan vyaktim vidu devana dhanava. He says, "Oh Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the demigods nor the demons, O Lord, can understand your personality." So here in the purport, Krishna Prabhupada is saying, Arjun herein confirms that persons of faithless and demoniac nature cannot understand Krishna. He is not known even by the demigods. So what to speak of the so-called scholars of the modern world? By the grace of the Supreme Lord, Arjun has understood that the supreme truth is Krishna and that he is the perfect one. One should therefore follow the path of Arjuna. He received the authority of Bhagavad Gita. As described in the 4th chapter, the Parampara system of disciplic succession for the understanding of Bhagavad Gita was lost. And therefore Arjuna re-established the disciplic succession with Arjuna because he considered Arjuna his intimate friend and a great devotee. Moving on to the purport, Prabhupada says, though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged, but at the time of war, it is not discouraged when there is actual need for it. So, Kshatriya actually two words, sandhi of 2 words, Kshata and Trayate. So, Kshata means harm, hurt, and Trayate means save. So, one who saves the citizens, protects the citizens from harm is a Kshatriya. He saves the citizens from harm, not just from external forces, but also from internal forces. A Kshatriya's duty is to also protect the citizens from being misled from the spiritual path. That is also a Kshatriya's duty. So here in 1843, the qualities of a Kshatriya are mentioned here. Anybody know this verse? Shoryam tejo dhriti daksham yudhe chapya palayanam danam ishvara bhavascha kshatram karma svabhavajam. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership. These are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. So, not running away from the battle, courage in battle. These are the qualities. So, but must be justified. So any violence must be justified in terms of sanctions of the Lord and not done capriciously. Prabhupada uses these wonderful words. So a Kshatriya is allowed to fight in these conditions. If the kingdom or the citizens are threatened by an outside force, he is certainly allowed to fight to protect. That is his main duty. If challenged by an opponent, Kshatriya can never refuse a challenge. You know, if somebody challenges him to a duel, a Kshatriya has to agree to fight him. So that is one of the codes of Kshatriyas as well. And if there is a need to replace a demoniac king, so if there is a neighboring kingdom where the king is ruling with an iron fist and not ruling by the Shastra or not taking advice from the Brahmanas and becoming a despot, then the Kshatriya has a right to go and fight to replace that demoniac king. So these are the 3 specific reasons that the Kshatriya will fight for, but it must be done under the guidance of Guru, Shastra, and Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Always this must be kept in mind. Even in general situations, even normal decisions we take, we must keep these 3 things in mind, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. In that way, we will never go wrong. So we are like Kshatriyas, we are also waging a war. We are waging a war against Maya. And our weapon is, anybody?
Chanting, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Chanting is there.
Bhakti.
Bhakti, yes, both are there too. But specifically, we soldiers go out and do what? Do what?
Book distribution.
Here's the clue. Yes, yes, Rupa Mataji. This is what we do. We distribute Prabhupada's wonderful books. These are like time bombs, Prabhupada calls them, and we place them in people's homes. And these books will allow the readers to fight Maya. So we are also acting as Kshatriyas here, but our weapons are not guns and swords. Our weapons are Prabhupada's books. So Hare Krishna devotees, thank you for your attention. Now, oh, what happened here? Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you?
Prabhuji. Can I ask a question? It's nothing to do with today's thing, but one question has been really bugging me for a long time now.
Yeah.
I was working in Oman, and people used to go to the temple, and they used to put milk on the shivali,
Yes.
and by 7 o'clock in the evening, the whole place used to smell, and so much milk wasted. Is that why do we do that? Why can't we give that milk to a child or something like that? Why do we offer it to?
Yes. Because on my laptop I've lost all the screen, I'm going to just try and stay on my phone. So who was that who asked the question?
Me, Prabhuji. Varsha.
Was it Puja Mataji? Oh, no, Varsha
No.
Mataji. Okay, Varsha Mataji. I'm sorry, my screen's gone dead. I'm just now on my phone. So yes, so
You gone, Prabhuji?
Can't hear you.
We can't hear you,
Prabhuji, we can't
Prabhuji.
hear you. I think his screen's gone all blank.
Yeah, he's disconnected now.
Okay.
Shall we wait for a few minutes?
No, he's there. He's there. I think something will go wrong. I can see him. He's there.
We'll wait for a few minutes. Varsha Mataji, I think.
Okay, we will. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, that's a good question, Varsha, because also when I go to the temples, there's people pouring a lot of milk. The Shravan month has started even now,
Yeah,
and the place smells quite a bit.
but it's just so much waste.
Yeah, it's too much waste.
That's
I think
how I feel.
In our temple in Luton, they have started mixing the milk with water.
water.
So it's
Okay,
not just total. So they do half milk and half water.
that's very good.
Because they had the same situation. And then what they suggested we use organic milk rather
Right.
than normal milk.
Okay.
In one temple, they used to serve milk and then make a sarbat and give to the devotees.
Yes, that's a good idea. You know, I think it's you
Yeah.
know, it's so much waste.
Yeah.
I don't like wasting things.
Yeah, little they will allow, and the rest then they will keep it in the fridge. Then after some hours, then they will give to the devotees, making milkshake.
Right.
That's a good idea. Varshabhataji, maybe you should speak to the temple member, whoever's
Yeah.
in charge.
Yeah, no, I'm not in Oman anymore. I live in a little village in Yorkshire,
Okay.
and there is no temples, no Indian people. In fact, it's
Okay.
just Christians here. But I still
Okay.
try to teach people if I can,
Yeah.
give them the Bhagavad Gita books and stuff.
Oh, that's nice. Maybe you should start something there then. Are there no
That's what I've
Indians around you?
started doing, yes. That's what I've
Yeah.
started doing.
Yeah, you can be the one to lead.
Yeah, well, bless me with the knowledge so that I can.
Definitely. We're here to
Because-
help you, but you should take up the lead.
Thank you.
I think Prabhuji is lost now.
Yeah. He's still there, but I think he's. I wonder if he's listening to us.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
It's a lovely question. Maybe next time we have to ask Prabhuji.
I'll ask
Yeah.
Isn't
tomorrow.
it? Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you, everybody.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, we'll ask Prabhuji next time, I think.
Hare Krishna, devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Can I
Hare-
phone him? What's going on?
I think Prabhuji said his screen was not working, so I think
Hare
it's
Ram,
not connecting.
Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hari Bol. This is Hari Mohan Sharma here from London.
Hari Bol, Prabhuji. I think Prabhuji has been disconnected. Mukunda-Hari Prabhu has been disconnected. So
Okay.
everybody is leading the program or something. They waited for a while. Yeah.
Okay. You, you're having every day, or only Sunday? What is it?
I think Mukunda-Hari Prabhu, he lost his screen. So
Oh, I see.
that's
We'll
why.
fix it on tomorrow. You're having tomorrow as well? Meeting?
We will join in tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Okay.
Hari Bol. Bye.